Welcome, Health Warriors. In the studio today, we have longtime MyFit Life community member and breast cancer survivor, Alisa. Welcome to the show, Alisa, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Al. I really appreciate you having me.
Awesome, awesome. So before we get into Alisa's story, because we're going to get into that hardcore, I want to go over some breast cancer statistics, the prevalence in the United States. So breast cancer is the most common cancer in women in the United States. I think this is from the American Cancer Society. Aside from skin cancers, here are some statistics. The lifetime risk: about 1 in 8 women in the U.S. will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. New cases in 2024 are estimated to reach 310,720 new cases of invasive breast cancer. And the deaths in 2024 for breast cancer for women is an estimated 42,250 women. Okay? And it says things about family history, you have more of a chance of getting it, etc. So, but let's get into the interview, and let's go right into it. When were you first diagnosed?
I was first diagnosed October of 2020, which I thought was ironic because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right on, yeah. And I remember, and like we were going through the lockdown stuff and everything, and you couldn't go, and we were doing everything out of the house at that time. And what stage were you at when they found it?
Well, I found it. They diagnosed me at stage 2 at that time.
Okay.
And I was just feeling something. I'm like, that's weird. There's this lump. I'm like, okay, I know I tend to be cystic, so I was going to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, no, this seems different. So I called the doctor, and they're like, oh, we can't see you for a month. I said, well, I won't be here. At that time, I was moving. We were relocating from Southern California to Northern Idaho. So I hung up with them, and I thought about it all weekend, and I swear it grew. So I called them Monday. I'm like, I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but I think the bump grew. So what am I supposed to do if I can't get in to see you? And they're like, no, come in right now. Okay, so I went straight to my doctor's office, and they felt it, and they're like, yeah, we're sending you over to Hoag Hospital to get a biopsy and an ultrasound. And they were throwing everything at me to just now.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, okay. And when I went back to get the results of all that, my girlfriend insisted on coming with me. She didn't want me to go alone. And I knew something was up because here we are in the middle of the lockdown, and they said it was okay for her to go back with me. I'm like, that can't be good. Because they were so protective about people not going past a certain point that the fact that they were willing to let her go with me, I knew it wasn't good.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and I remember you contacted me almost like immediately afterwards, and why was that?
Because I knew, based on my experience with you, that if anyone could guide me and help me get started on creating a solid foundation for whatever I was going to come up against, it was you.
Right
Because we've known each other since high school, but we got reconnected when I had to gather prizes for a silent auction at the kids' preschool. And I'm like, I already knew about your gym, and I'm like, I really want to go work out there. So I was hoping I was going to win the silent auction prize. And that's when we got reconnected. And I'm like, after that, I'm like, I got to go to his gym. I'm going. And you got me in the best shape of my life. And you taught me everything about nutrition, everything they don't teach you at school. And you even walked us through the grocery store. I loved that tour. It was the grocery store tour. You took us and you would walk us around the store saying, okay, this is why you don't buy this. This is why you do buy this. And this is what you avoid. And it was just, I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Because you assume that when everything's put in the store, that all those agencies out there that are going to protect us have given their stamp of approval. So everything should be safe in your store, in your market. And it was very surprising to learn that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that started opening my eyes to listening to other people and what they were saying, and investigating now everything that was coming out. Like, wait, what do you mean do that? Wait, what's that? Why are you saying that? And that spurred my journey into health. And I wanted to know more. And that was because of the things that you showed me.
That's awesome, yeah. And so that was way back in 2010, and it's 2024 now. So so it was really like, it felt good, to know that you had that trust in me. I remember you came over, and it was like here like 10 bottles of Elixir of the Gods, and you hopped on like our Trifecta of Health, which is the the Elixir of the Gods and the MSM and the Shilajit, right away. And I just want to applaud you for that, because that is like the base of things. And then you did try other things. So you want to get into that?
Well, I think first off that people need to understand is all through my journey, all the different doctors, when they review all the labs I've had done, the first thing they look at thing they say when they look at it, they go, huh. And I'm like, well, what's that mean? And they're like, well, considering what you're up against right now and what you've got going on, your cells look really good. I'm like, okay, that's bad? And they're like, well, no, we just don't usually see people this healthy with this condition. As if you're ahead of the game here. And I always think to myself, thank you, Al, because I know it's because of that trifecta. I haven't used Advil in years because I use the MSM. When my daughter got her teeth pulled for wisdom teeth, MSM, and she was like, gimme. And that's what we use all the time. We don't keep Advil in the house. We don't need it. We have MSM.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and like your daughter's in college now, and she's been around since they were in elementary school. It's so super, super awesome. But so let's go a little bit into the journey a little bit though. Like I know that like the doctors were like surprised about how cells were, and then also with that you weren't in pain too, right?
Yes. Now they would always, that was always the first question. Are you in pain? And I'm like, well, no. I mean, should I be? What am I missing? And I was always confused by the question until later when my cancer advanced. And like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And I think, again, that was the other thing that always threw them off. I never presented like my condition indicated I should. And that was because I followed your plan for eating. I, did everything that I needed to do as far as keeping myself healthy. I went to got lymphatic massages. I saw my chiropractor. I would try to go for a walk. I would try to do something. I researched the lymphocytes, your lymphatic system, got a trampoline. I was doing anything and everything I could health-wise, not knowing at the time that when I would be tested later, my body actually prefers exercise. And I didn't know that, but I was trying to do everything I could, right? When you first get that diagnosis, it's scary because cancer is a small 6-letter word, but it is a huge subject. I had no idea until I got my official diagnosis and started researching, okay, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
You educate yourself because depending on the system, huge mistake. Huge mistake. And I saw it over and over every time I learned something new and see how the system really screws it up and scares you even more. But thank God, thank Jesus, I have my faith, and I just kept praying and just knowing that, okay, he's going to guide me either way. I made peace with it. For a year, I cried in the shower every night, lamenting what I may not get to see. Mostly my kids grow up. I wanted to see what Jake was going to do with his life, and I wanted to know what my grandkids were going to be, and I wanted to see what kind of career Sam ended up in finally, what she was going to end up, and I was lamenting the possibility that wasn't going to happen. So I made peace with that. I know who Jesus was. I know where I'm going either way. So I was ready. Okay, if I get to stay, thank you. If I don't, that's okay too. But I would miss everything else.
Yeah. That's that's sort of that makes me tear up, just hearing that. And so you were saying that there's so much out there, so that there's, when you get diagnosed with this, what I see for people is that people bombard them with all kinds of information on what they should do. Whether it's from doctors to friends, everybody has an opinion. And did you have that?
Yes, I had that, and my plan with all of that was, did you have it? If not, okay, how much did you research? How healthy are you? And how does that apply to me? But I would take it, and it's like the shopping cart method, right? You go to the store, you don't put everything in your cart. You take what you need. So I applied that to everyone around me. It was like, okay, no, you still take Advil, you still eat terribly. Not really going to put a lot of weight on what you're saying. You, however, especially you've been raw vegan for I don't know how long, and still one of the most healthy people I know. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put a lot of weight on what you had to say. Even though you didn't have cancer and you didn't have breasts, but you know health and how the body works. So I trusted that. Even doctors, I fired 3 oncologists because to me they sounded like idiots. What do you mean eat whatever I want? What? You're not going to guide me on what things I could do to help, minimize this? No, they weren't. They wanted me to just listen and do whatever they said.
Yeah.
The first oncologist, oh my gosh, he got all excited, and my husband and I are looking at him like, why is he so happy? He's like, well, you could take 6 chemo drugs instead of 3 like our elderly patients. And my husband's like, whoa, wait. So because she's healthy, you want to give her 6 drugs instead of just 3, and on those older people who were less healthy, that was effective enough, but you want to put 6 in her? And he's like, well, yeah. And he's like, oh, we're going, no way. That made no sense.
Yeah.
Why would you try to poison me triple? And that's when I clued in. I'm like, oh, we're guinea pigs. they don't know. They do not know definitively, for me, what is gonna fix me or cure me, heal me, whatever you wanna call it. They don't know. It's all a guess. At least that's what I thought at the time. And now, having gone through several doctors, I've come to and landed on my final doctor, who actually is a scientist. He's like, yeah, they have to follow the FDA standards because they don't want to get sued. So if the FDA doesn't approve it, they won't do it, even if it will save you, because they're too scared and lazy is the other half. He's like, because look, see these tests here? That anybody can run these tests. Nobody else does, because you have to actually think about it. You've got to actually review your history, review your work, and then come up with a conclusion. Like, they don't want to do that. That takes time. They don't get paid for that time. And that was the difference. And that's how they all operate, including the natural side. And I did both.
Yeah, for sure. So Alisa, like, she learned a lot about like the health and what is true health, from the different programs, that we have in My Fit Life, and it served her well with that, because she's also like very, she's not afraid to ask questions, and tell you what she thinks, and so she that courage, helps her, to be here right now. If she would have stayed with that first doctor, she might not be here, and so that's a really big deal, like being able to sort of, being able to stand up for yourself and fight for yourself, but in an educated way, like which is what you have, and like where you actually, you understand nutrition better than most doctors. It's really crazy, and it's super awesome. Were there any doctors or practitioners or even loved ones that were sort of against you taking, like, especially the THC or CBD, like the RSO or FECO?
Well, that was interesting. It was split. Like, half the doctors were like, yeah, whatever, and the other half were like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then family and friends, same thing. Oh, are you sure? And I'm like, well, if Alice making it, absolutely, I'm sure, because I know how much you depend on it, and that you had to make sure it was clean, and I already knew the way you ate. So there was no way you were going to allow anything to have your company name on it, let alone that you were going to take, if it wasn't pristine. And when I say pristine, I mean clean, healthy, the absolute best quality you can get. So it was a no-brainer for me. As soon as they said, yep, this is what's good for cancer, I'm like, okay, I know where to get it. And there's absolutely no other choice for me. I had other friends and family who worked at dispensaries and like, oh, I can get you. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm gonna use Al's. I'm good. And that was the thing. I didn't really, so the first 2 years, I didn't really have pain. I didn't know, apparently I should have been in a lot of pain. Uh-huh. But because I was on your CBD, I wasn't having that experience. When I started going to stage 3 into stage 4, then I had pain. And then I called you and said, do we have RSO? Because I think I need that now. And you made it. You made me RSO. And I was so grateful, because I never had to take anybody else's pain medication. They were trying to give me anything and everything, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. And they wanted to give me a card here in Arizona. I'm like, I don't need a card. I've got access to the best RSO and CBD I can get. And you told me how to dose it. So as soon as the hour started that I could start dosing, I was counting it down that last hour, because it hurt. And I'm like, okay, soon. Look at the clock. Okay, soon. Okay, soon. Okay, now I can. And I would start dosing, and then I would be at peace again, because it didn't hurt anymore. And my husband can attest how much pain I was in, because you could see the look on his face, how helpless he felt. Mm-hmm. And I felt bad, because there was nothing he could do. Yeah. There was absolutely nothing, and nothing I could do except take your RSO. And that's what helped me sleep, which is a big part of recovery, is sleeping.
Yeah, for sure.
So that would put me to sleep, and that would keep me pain-free. So, and then there would be bouts, and there would be times during the day when it would start happening, and I'm like, but it's not 6 o'clock yet. I'm like, okay, I can have some more CBD. Okay, and I just be counting it down, but that helped. That was the only thing that helped. And then I heard another friend, her dad had gotten cancer, and he was stage 4, a lot of pain, and I'm like, hey, I know what he's experiencing. We want to try this, but they were the type that, no, we don't do that. I said, but you're going to put all those other opioids in you instead, and they didn't work.
Yeah.
He would take those, and they didn't work, and yet he had to suffer from all the side effects. And it just broke my heart to hear her, asking for prayer for him, because of all the pain he was going through, and I knew what that was, and I just felt so bad. But the people are going to do what they believe they can do, and I'm like, I'm sorry you don't know Al like I know Al, because he's suffering for no reason. And so I mean, anybody who's got cancer pain of any type should be on your RSO, because it works.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that's, yeah, and thank you for that. But the one thing that's sort of uh, bad about it is that it works so good, especially at first with the pain, that you don't realize that things are happening, inside of you that you need to still take care of, and it makes you be a little bit more lackadaisical, for lack of a better term, at first, and then, you need to be diligent even if you're not feeling this stuff, when you're on the protocols and things like that, and take it really seriously, because it does do things, and especially you get help with the pain. One of the things I like to say is that the RSO keeps working when the opioids stop. And as Alisa mentioned, they definitely do stop, and I see it all the time, because at any given time I'm working with like 100 or more people with cancer at any given time. So I hear it all the time. That like my uncle, my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, whatever, that like the opioids aren't working anymore, and then they take the RSO, it gives them relief, and they keep their dignity, and it's a really, really big deal.
Well, and that was the other crazy thing, is when my cancer finally went at stage 4, started to turn and go the other way, I almost forgot to take it, because I was no longer having those pain syndromes anymore. They were gone, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need my RSO.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I'm not healed yet. Regardless, I need to take that. And that's when I really observed the benefit of the sleep. Because if I didn't take it, then I was, and that was part of the cancer too. You would just stay up. You couldn't sleep. You would just, and I'm like, what is going on? And then that's when I realized, like, wait, I backed off, not intentionally. I just forgot.
Yeah.
And so then I started taking it again, and then I started sleeping again. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. We're
Right
good.
on. Yeah. Sleep is so valuable, as you know, as you mentioned, for healing this period. And yeah, so you literally, with this stuff, you have to set a timer and things, because people do forget. That's with everything, when they're healing from an injury, everything. They'll feel better, and then they'll test out their injury, whatever it is. Like, no, just keep on doing your stuff, and go all the way through till you're fully better, and then go beyond that a little bit too. Make sure that it's fully done. Let's get for some information for some people that may have cancer. So what things like worked, what things didn't, and one thing too is like, were there people that were like, not ethical, that's for lack of a better term, like I think I talked to you before, like I said, on the medical and the holistic side, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was interesting. So what I've come to understand is, with cancer and the specific types, there's all kinds of subcategories. So just because you say breast cancer, well, is it hormone driven? Is it the actual breast itself? Is it because of the organs? Is there a bacteria? Is there a virus going on? And then there's all these different names for all the different types. And so, side note, my sister just got diagnosed with leukemia. And I'm like, you got to go research. She's like, what? I said, just because I say I have cancer does not mean we have the same thing. I said, let alone my body is different than your body, even though we have the same parents, our lifestyles, our environment, all different. I said, so you need to go research you, because I did research me, and I have no energy to research you. Go do it. She hasn't done it yet. But in that process, you hear, oh, high dose vitamin C on the natural side, and then you got chemo on the medical side. Oh, okay. I didn't want to do chemo because you scared the bejeebies out of me way back when you said, well, it's only got a 2% success rate. Like, well, I hate those odds. And then when I researched it again, it said 3% now. I'm like, So I put that off as long as I could. And I didn't know enough about high dose vitamin C, and where I was, they didn't know a whole lot either. They only had me doing 1 a week, because I don't like needles. So they're like, oh, it's stressing you out too much. Just do it once every 2 weeks. Well, in theory, high dose vitamin C needs to be given at least 3 times a week, not just once, let alone every other week. So that was a waste of time and money. There. Then when I got in Idaho, or here in Arizona, they're like, oh yeah, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. So they had me on IV 5 days a week. And I'm like, okay, that seems like overkill, but they're like, oh no, this is what you need, this is what you need. Like, But then as soon as my money ran out at that clinic, they're like, but nothing changed. I was there 6 weeks and nothing changed. And they promised, oh, we're just doing it just for your body. We were all doing the same thing. Nobody did anything different. So they lied. And as soon as the money was out, that was it. And then to come to find out, because at the new place I'm at, they're like, well, I said, well, should I go get my vitamin C till you get all my testing back? He's like, well, why? I'm like, what do you mean, why? It's like, well, what test shows that you need that to help you fight your cancer? That's a good question. I said, no one's tested that. But yet every clinic at natural clinic, everybody says you have to do high dose vitamin C. It's like, well, that works for some people. Like, well, and then at the last place they said, oh yeah, well, you got to do a level 4 now. I'm like, but why? Why do I need 4 instead of 2? What's the difference? Oh, well, that's just the best results. I'm like, well, how do you know? Only to find out later, there's a test out there called RGCC, they call it the Greek test, where they do a biopsy on your cancer cells to see which agents actually impact your cells. They did that test, and then they pushed it aside, because the test doesn't always say high-dose vitamin C. So they don't tell people that, they just give everyone high-dose vitamin C and don't tell you to go get the RGCC test. Right? So meanwhile, this clinic is making tons of money because these things aren't cheap, let alone you have to do it 3 times a week, but it may not be beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, and then you've got the traditional medical side. They will only do what the FDA has approved, regardless of your condition or if they know something else will help you. And they won't tell you and they won't recommend it because they don't want to hear you complain later when you get a bill that your insurance didn't cover. So their solution was, okay, we're only going to prescribe what your insurance will cover. Regardless. Like, okay, so I come in, along with, there was another gal who came in at the same time. We're both getting our IVs, chemo IVs, and she did it all. She had surgery, she had a radiation, she was now doing her chemo IVs, and I'm like, why? She's like, well, they want to make sure they get it all. I'm like, but what about the rest of you? Because my oncologist that I finally agreed to, she had to explain everything. She had to take 2 hours before I would agree to even continue on with her. And she did, so she had great bedside manner. Very intelligent woman. She explained everything, that why I needed it, how it was going to work, and then we negotiated. I said, well, because she started me, and she's like, I'm like, yeah, that was a lot. Is it, can we lower that? She's like, yeah, we can lower that. I'm like, okay, good. Because that didn't seem right. She's like, oh no, it's just a starting point. So they didn't even know exactly the dosage I needed. That's how insane the whole system is. They just look at a list and say, oh, this code, this code, this code, okay, you get this. Not who you are. And in fact, it says, I'm a study case. I'm not even a patient, I'm a study case. So I'm a guinea pig. We're all guinea pigs. They don't know. But it's big bucks. When you start following the money, it is big bucks. For me to get just 1 IV, it would have cost me out of pocket $76,000.
That's crazy.
Just for 1, and I needed 3. And they wanted to charge me $800 for the other stuff, Benadryl and some Advil type thing, and something else just to offset the immediate effects of the chemo. That would have been $800 out of my pocket. How? What? Like, okay, now I get it. And then only to come to find out when I got to my last doctor, they're like, no, you need EWAT, which is exercise with oxygen training. I'm like, whoa, you want me to exercise? He's like, yeah. I'm like, everybody else told me to sit still. They wanted me to sit and rest and let my immune system rebuild or whatever. He's like, oh no. Breast cancer patients in particular, through my studies, have shown do really well with exercise. And then when he finished testing me, he's like, especially you. He's like, you gotta exercise every day. I'm like, okay. But until I had seen him, the week prior to that, I wasn't getting up out of bed every day because I was so tired. I wasn't even doing chemo anymore. I'm like, what is this about? Like, I don't understand. If I'm only on an inhibitor, why am I having days I can't get out of bed? Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. And then he explained, he's like, because you're detoxing in waves. Your cells are releasing in waves, and that's why you're having these symptoms now. He's like, give me 2 weeks, and I promise you will be feeling better. I'm like, I'll put my money where your mouth is, let's do it. And that was the last time I couldn't get out of bed. I'm like, okay. Now, I'm not saying I was jumping out of bed. That wasn't it. It just meant I could get up, I could function, I could go on with my day. And then you came out with the Shilajit Elixir instead of the Resin, which I was not very faithful to the Resin because I had to get my ice pick out, and I had lost my muscle. I gotten too weak to even get that out myself. And I'm like, okay, so you said, oh, I've got the Elixir. I'm like, I'll take it. And as soon as I started taking it, I noticed immediately I was waking up. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can make breakfast, let's go, I got this, oh yeah, let's go, I can vacuum, I can do this, I can do that. And it was that combination. Again, my cells were trying. Every doctor, like, your body seems like it's really trying. I'm like, well, yeah, I really want to live. And they're like, okay, well, it's like, I get it. Most of the people that come in there are not sure what they want to do. I'm like, no. Yeah. Life is good when we're good. Life is good when we're healthy.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep experiencing it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, but like when we first started the interview, like when you have that diagnosis too, they try to rush you.
Yes.
So you can't really think, and it was like, okay,
And it's a strategy.
It's
It is a taught strategy. Every oncologist said the exact same thing. And I bet you everyone else out there who has ever attended an appointment with someone with cancer, oh, well, if you were my wife, then I would totally recommend this for you. Oh, if you were my sister, this is the treatment I would do. Oh, and I would start right away. Well, we don't know what the cancer is going to do. So the longer you wait, the closer you are to dying. Like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah, they scare the hell out of you.
They do, but I already knew enough from you and my other teachers that, you know what? You don't need to act right now. Take a minute, take a week, take a month. It's not that critical. You've been growing this for years. It's not like it just appeared overnight. This took years to grow. I'm like, okay, well then why do I have to act right now and make a decision that's gonna deeply impact me physically, let alone emotionally? That roller coaster you go on. I said, and you want me to make that decision right now here in your office?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not right. That's wrong, but that's how they're trained. They're trained to do that and scare everybody. And oncology is the only field in medical where they don't have the same liabilities as other doctors. So they can prescribe whatever they want, and they can also get the kickbacks from it. They can't do that in other fields in medicine. Only oncology. They can get kickbacks. So it got to the point where we would walk in and oncologists would, oh, blah, 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 you got to do this right away. I'm like wondering, did he just buy a new car? How much is he going to get from this prescription? Does he have a boat he's got to pay off? What's going on?
Yep.
I really wanted to ask him those questions, but I was already on, shaky ground as it was. I just smiled and like, yeah, we're done. I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
There's no point in arguing with them. And we actually literally had one oncologist who knew I wanted to do natural, and we agreed to do one of the tests, MRI, and it came back, nothing had changed. And he's like, oh, it doesn't look like much has changed. Are you still going to do what you're doing? I said, well, yeah. And he shut the folder and walked out of the room. And we sat there like, are we done? Is this appointment over? Because they literally have rules that they only need to be in that room for 7 minutes. They got to get through the patients as quickly as possible. I'm like, so what? Did I exceed the 7 minutes? Is that what happened? Or because he knew I wasn't going to pay for his boat? This was going nowhere. And yeah, the nurse came in, or we peeked our heads out, and the nurse walked by. I'm like, is he done? She's like, what do you mean? I said, he just walked out. We didn't say goodbye. He didn't say anything. She's like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, he's done for the day. I'm like, oh, well, I'd like to go home too.
Yeah, it's crazy, just that whole system. I can't imagine, having to go through all of that. That's why I avoid doctors completely, and I just suffer until I figure out how to get myself better. because that I'd get violent. It's crazy that the pressure that they put you through, and that can make you worse. That's
Yes.
stress.
Yes.
It's crazy. So so you were given the ultimate, saying that you're cancer free, right? That's so congratulations on that. You're a true health warrior. That's super, super awesome. So as you know, there's maintenance that needs to go on. So what are your plans for as far as the maintenance?
Well, for sure, I'll keep doing the exercise with oxygen training, because
Mm-hmm.
that just seems to be just a good idea overall,
Yep.
regardless. But I know it helps me. Definitely will stick to my MSM, my Shilajit, my CBD, and RSO. Those just without saying, and every time I went to a doctor's office, that was always the question. Okay, which of these things that you're taking are you not willing to give up? I'm like, MSM, my RSO, and my Shilajit. You can't have those. They're like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's good. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna protect me for whatever you're gonna do. And so that I continue. They recommended I be on a Mediterranean diet after all the testing they did. It was kind of funny. It's like, they'll say different things here in the report. Mediterranean diet. You need a Mediterranean diet. I'm like, okay, I can do that. I like Mediterranean food. So I'm learning how to cook that. And just continue on with prayer and meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and not, I like what I heard someone say, talking about your reality will change when your personality changes. That when you go through cancer, you end up dying in a way and becoming this new person. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm not trying to understand that. And I figured out that you had a lot of things going on that created the situation for your body to develop this disease. And it's time, this is your big wake-up call. This is the alarm going off. You can't keep going this way. And I was busy. I was constantly busy. My mind was constantly going. I was always, spinning all the plates for everybody. And when I got cancer, I put everybody's plate down. I said, no more. You're an adult. You are old enough. You can take care of that. And you all just really don't need me. Take care of it. You handle it. I'm handling me. So that was a process. And I still find people trying to jerk me back into that person that I was. And I don't want to be that person because that was insane. And my body told me so. So just putting that aside and changing how I view things, is that really something I need to be upset about? Yeah, still driving here in Arizona. We work on that because they are insane. But at the same time, it's I'm cancer-free. I really don't give a fuck what happens to you right now. I am cancer-free. Take care of your shit. Yeah. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to focus on what I need to do. And I don't know what God put me here to do yet. He still has me here, so I'm willing to figure that out. And just grateful that he did.
Yeah.
But what advice do you have? Because you helped me a lot along this way.
Okay, so just for the people out there as well, we'll go over the Trifecta of Health first, which is the cannabinoids, which is the CBD or the RSO, depending on where you're at health-wise, and then the MSM and the Shilajit. And basically, just really quickly, you have an endocannabinoid system that needs to be fed with cannabinoids in order for you to be healthy. It balances every system in your body, so that's why you need the cannabinoids. The MSM, it's good for a number of things, including connective tissue, but on a cellular level, it makes your cell walls more permeable, so you're a better filter, so you can take in nutrients better and get rid of toxins better, which is what you need when you have cancer, and then or any kind of illness. And then the Shilajit, it has everything to do with mitochondrial function, and that's what messes up. It goes bad basically when people have cancer. Any book you read, any article you read will say that the mitochondrial function is diminished, and it's because of a lack of nutrition. So everybody that has cancer and everybody that doesn't but doesn't want to get it, should be on these three. That's why I call it the Trifecta of Health. Because they should be in our diet, but they're missing greatly, and it's a big deal. We have tens of thousands of clients that are on that Trifecta, et cetera, and we have the proof through case studies. But beyond that, like you said, like eating well, staying away from the stress, getting the good sleep, and and the exercise, and that's basically it. And just staying true to that. So the main thing is to remember to be patient, persistent, and consistent with your efforts. Don't skip days because you feel good. And things like that. If you have to set a timer for your supplements, then do that. Especially the cannabinoids, etc. And just keep on eating healthy and continuing all that. You want to get a 90% plus day, but when you're susceptible to things, because things, especially when it's so recent, things can come back, as quickly as they left, kind of thing. Not, but they didn't leave quickly, but seemingly, but they can come back very quickly, if you just stumble a little bit. So you need to keep on point, and you think of it as the grades, right? You want an A body? Do you want an A mind? You want to be thinking clearly. You want to be physically, active and everything. You need an A body to be there. So you need to eat 90% good at least. I think of the grades in school. If you have a 70% meal, that means you're going to have a 70% a C time of body, right? A C level body, C level health, C level everything. So eat 90%, take your supplements, the ones that you're supposed to, and exercise and get good sleep. And that's all there is to good health. It's feeding yourself and the proper nutrition, so things don't happen, and then when you get exposed to toxic environments, then you could, flush that out, because you have so much health inside of you. So that's the only other thing, following the AWOL principles, a way of life program, that's the lifestyle stuff, and that's everything we just mentioned. But the 21-day reset, it would be good. We're doing another one, a group one in January, so it'd be good for you to do that. So that's a cleansing and detoxification program that resets and reformats your internal hard drive and gets you to health very quickly. It's a 21-day program, and we say 21 days could change your life, right? And Alisa did it way back in 2010. She was in the first group that I did in Orange County, because I did it with thousands of people in West LA and Santa Monica, and then I moved to Orange County, and she was in that first group. She, going back to the beginning of this interview, from the preschool, literally, the kids were in fucking preschool, that's crazy. They're in college now, and But she, she was so interested, and she even, worked with me for a while. I have pictures, with her in 2010. Like I remember at Camp Bow Wow, and I remember, like she's old enough for the little thing at the booth, and so she is a true health warrior, and she's been in it for a while, and that's why she's successful, and that's what I recommend for you. Get the education, seek out people that have success. Follow them. Don't not people that are claiming stuff and they just look something up on Google and spitting it out, but actually have proven success. And that's what I recommend. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I think if anyone's listening, they should definitely be seeking you out, because that knowledge is power. And so many people are, like you said, they're just advertising and saying all these things, but you lived it. I watched you. When something came, you studied the heck out of it. And you made sure, and you verified, and you triple checked everything. It was almost hard to work for you because I knew I was being triple checked on everything I did. But it was worth it. That's how you live your life. You make sure. You don't just willy-nilly anything. You are consistent and you are persistent on what you need and what is the best and what's true. If it wasn't true, you're like, that's bullshit. I'm like, oh, okay. But you explained. You didn't just, no, it was because you already knew. You had studied. You were educated about it. And I took that and applied it through this journey. I'm like, okay, I need to educate myself. I need to know. I need to understand. Not depend on a doctor only to tell me what the FDA has approved or what fits their model, but the truth. What's the truth? How do we fix this? What do I need to do? And if I can't do it, okay, then I can't do it. But you're worth listening to. So that would be my mind. They should listen to you as far as getting started on anything that they're trying to overcome health-wise. It's a huge thing. The body is amazing. It's truly amazing. We don't know everything, but you know a lot. And with that, you can just take that and run. And when you get that knowledge, own it. Don't let somebody else who's got a degree tell you you're wrong just because they don't agree. If you've done the research, that's it. There's no arguing, there's no debating it, because you already know. And that knowledge and that courage to believe in what you learned is huge. Because that's not only going to save you, but they're going to respect you too. The doctors never really poo-pooed me. They didn't do that. They okay. Because they knew I knew what I was talking about. I wasn't just repeating something. I believed it, and I knew it. And they respected the fact that I was willing to take responsibility for my health. I was willing to take responsibility, for my choices. And ultimately, that's what it falls on. We all are responsible for our choices. And own it. Even if it's wrong. Even if, you know what, you're going to eat cake, fine. Eat the cake. You know you're going to suffer later. That's fine. Don't make excuses. No one wants to hear excuses. We hear them all the time. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear how you tried, how you made an effort, and how you grew from that. And Al does that all the time. If you're wrong, I've heard you, okay, no, this brand's not okay. They've changed this, so we're moving to this now. After you research them. You don't just, we're just jumping to that. No, you made sure there was a viable source, or we just didn't do it. Then they were just gone, period. I'm like, well, what happened to, nope, they blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
So, be responsible.
Yeah, and that's a good way to close this out is, like Alisa said, you need to take responsibility for your health because nobody else is going to, it's sad, but it's true, so, but thank you for coming on the show, sharing this story, I'm sure you're going to inspire so many people, so thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having me, Al, and thank you for training me.
Awesome, you're welcome. So that's it, Health Warriors. Remember to click the subscribe button, like the video, etc. Remember, I'm Elmer Renton with My Fit Life, where knowledge is power and health is wealth. I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace.